Man, look at that big one there.
All right.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call shows we are missing Mr. Jones. I will, item 2, approval of the agenda. I believe we are going to modify this agenda and take number 8 off, item of personal matters, so I would accept the motion to approve it with that amendment. You want to do it as printed or as amended? Okay. I just want to make sure you're good. As amended, Mr. Nash?
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, Mr. Schiffer?
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes, motion passes. Item 3, communications. I have no written correspondence, communication from OE personnel. I have none. I have no communications from the public. Item 4, consent agenda.
I might just say, Josh, in regards to the consent agenda, D and E. This month, we're starting both months. You can see the payment of bills is July 2024, and the financial report, July 2024. So at the next board meeting, it will be the August and so forth like that. But at least they'll match up each time from now on.
Entertain a motion.
Agenda be approved as presented.
Motion by Mr. Schiffer,
Support.
support by Ms. Woolley. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Number 5, Board of Education reports. We're going to start with some opening highlights. Mr. Tokar, Miss Felicia,
It's volunteer to me, it's okay.
he volunteered you.
All right, so I'm reporting for K-5 because Michelle, Mrs. Hartman, is not available to attend. She's at her son's soccer game. She's also there with her 2 foreign exchange students, so she's very busy. So that is where she's at. I'm reporting K-5 then. So our school theme this year is Candyland, so it's really exciting. Everything is sweet. And then we have it K-5 across the board, so it's really fun. We started off a little rough before school got started. We had to fill a lot of positions really fast, but it ended up being great. We got them all filled, and everything's going really good with that. Our open houses went really well. We got to meet a lot of our students beforehand and see a lot of our families that either they're returning to us or we get to meet they're new. We are in the process of testing right now. EE night, EE night. We are complete, and we had our we call them data dives, our data days, where we go through each teacher, meet with them, and kind of show them where their students placed, and then how to help their students from there. And then Leonard is finishing up testing right now, and then they will be having those same days too, where they can meet each teacher. We also are kicking off Spirit Week this week, so today was a fun day. Today was Pajama Day for Sweet Dreams, because we're doing everything with the Candyland theme. Tomorrow we have Skittles Day, which means each class gets to dress by a class color. Wednesday we have Jolly Rancher Day, where it's like a cowboy or cowgirl, that's how they get to dress. Thursday is Smarties Day, so they dress like a teacher. And then Friday is our Candyland Day, which is our big game day, which is just like Ovid-Elsie and cheer on our Marauders. With that being said, we are doing an open house, or not open house, homecoming tailgate. So K-5 are going to be together under a tent over here in our courtyard by the middle school. And we're going to have a spot where students can come up and get a free football or a free pom-pom. And then they also get their ticket, so each student gets their ticket to the game to go watch the football game. So other than that, we're off to a good start. Any questions? been crazy busy yet.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Mr. Ormsby.
The year started out pretty well. We were able to, as you know, hire a 7th grade special ed, so now we are fully staffed and certified teachers, which is fantastic. Not everybody in the state of Michigan can say that, so we're happy that it's happening. We completed our first set of NWEA reading and math. The students take this 3 times throughout the year so that they can monitor their progress as the year progresses. Teachers are using it to, and the kids with their guidance, the kids are able to create individual ISO plans so that they can hit the specific areas within math, within reading that they are struggling with. So it's great that we have those resources for us. The middle school is also participating in data review days with CC RISA 3 times throughout the year. That helps us focus. We have a lot of data, but they give us extra data, and that helps us focus our professional development. It helps us focus our school initiatives for the year to make sure we are matching the kids' needs. The middle school is likewise participating in the Spirit Week this week with the high school and the elementary schools. Student council is in the middle of selecting their membership, and then the clubs that we have already started and up and running are Student Challenge, Chess Club has started, and the girls basketball and cross country have all mid-season. Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Stovall.
These guys are way more prepared. They actually have more actions around flyers. You guys should kind of see what's going on. Again, it's got a little bit of information on the next page.
You.
So this week, homecoming week, we kicked it off last night. It was awesome. We're selling T-shirts the rest of the week because juniors, it's going to say on the front, juniors paid the refs, and on the back, seniors paid the clock operator. We're the most hated administration in all of high school powder puff games. It was awesome. 1 point victory for the juniors though, so we ruined senior homecoming already. Everybody is super excited. But anyway, we're changing the format for powder puff next year, so hopefully it won't be quite as dramatic, but I'm sure they'll find reason to be mad at us for something. Anyway, so powder puff was last night. Community events, 5 o'clock homecoming parade this week. 5:30 the hog roast. We got 2 hogs. Our student council in the high school is putting that on. That's free for everybody. It takes donations. You know, our donations typically pays about half of it back, and then we use some money from the powder puff, and then student council takes in a little bit to make sure that kind of keep it going. The alumni fund is going to have that going for a while. The alumni fund started to dip down a little bit, so but we think it's a great thing, a good tradition. We've been doing it for, I believe I've been doing it for the last 8 years. My first 2 years we weren't doing it, but anyway. And then we played Durand at 7, and then we moved our dances to 2-hour dances. One of the things in our league and county principals are talking about shortened dances and things like that. Kids being out really late on a Saturday night. I don't know if you're familiar, but we used to get out 8 to 11. We tried last year kind of going 7 to 10:30. Kids didn't like the early start time. We don't like the late release because then they end up at Applebee's till midnight, and it's just a long, late night for our kids. So we're shrinking that up a little bit on the dances. The next thing on the next page is our AP report. That came back really well, really good again this year. We're a little bit back to reality. Last year was a superstar year, 77% in 23, but this year we were at 58, kind of similar to 2022, just a smidge below how we did the previous couple of years. Then on the back page, one of our really diehard teachers really likes to compare how we do with everybody else. I highlighted Ovid-Elsie, and you'll see we took, in the area, he just took all of the area schools that are kind of familiar to us, either in our county or league, or just familiar schools. You know, we're kind of about 4th best in math, or 5th best in math, 4th best in reading in the area. Quite a bit better than a lot of schools that you know, are in this area, but obviously still a couple schools left to chase, and so we're going to keep kind of plugging away with that. And to do that, we're going to keep focusing on our disciplinary literacy stuff that we started last year, and we're also doing the data review days as well. With that, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Just wanted to give you a little data. I didn't have PSAT results on there. It's a little bit harder to dig through that stuff. We haven't quite gotten all the way through everything on that.
Thank you. Dr. Petrolio, Superintendent report?
Sure, I've got a couple of things. Crystal's going to, the first item is that I'd like to give you a written update on our board work session that occurred last year on October 30 of 2020. There were four categories. The first was the financial and district resources, and within that, the task included student projections. So I'm going to give you student projections compared to last year. Now, so if you look at 23, 24, that's kind of the first column with numbers of students. And the next column is the 24, 25, and that's current. We still think that is going to go down some. It could go down anywhere from 5 to 10 students, because some students, they've just not shown up, but they've not withdrawn yet. So therefore, the bottom line is we most likely will end with less than what we have at this time. But you can see kindergarten is, that's nice to see compared to last year. 107 last year, 111 so far. So we always say, man, it's nice to at least keep more than 100. And that's 4 up from last year. But then if you go to first grade, now it says minus 12. Now that doesn't mean minus 12 down from what you see there. Okay, what it is, it's in previous year. Okay, and that's where it's down from. In other words, it's 95 last year, we have 83 this year. So if you go all the way through, you see elementary has an increased enrollment of 22. That's total elementary. Total middle school is down, that's decreasing, down 21 students. And the high school is down a total of 23. All dead is staying pretty steady, we're up 2 there. So at this time, we're projecting to be 20 down from last year. And last year at this time we had 1,323. This year at this time we have 1,303. However, if we drop another 5 to 10 students, which is very possible at this stage, we may end the year, not end the year, when we have our official count, we may be down to more like about 1290 to 1293. What did we budget for? We budgeted for 1280. So therefore, we're still above what we budgeted. Any questions on student enrollment?
When I first sat here, that number was 1820.
Yep, absolutely. In fact, when I first, it was more closer to 19. Yeah, absolutely. It has gone down over the last 30 years, you might say. But that's not just Ovid-Elsie. That's enrollment in children. Some districts are increasing enrollment. Those are districts where a lot of people are moving in. All right, continuing on category 1. Number 2 was we have to keep staff right-sizing, because when you're going down in students, you need to right-size your staffing. And this is staffing only for certified teachers. So if you look at elementary 23, 24, and so far for this year, when I say so far, it's going to stay unless we have something different. Okay? But for elementary, we're 1 less elementary teacher. Middle school, we're the same, 0 change. High school, down 2 certified teachers. Alt Ed, down to 0.5. In Alt Ed, we're still advertising. We replace that person will still be down 5 from last year. So therefore, totally, we're looking at 3.5 certified teachers down from last year. The next task item in this category was general operation budget. So for 23-24, that's the past school year, and we are going to have the audit presented from Meg in a little bit, shortly. But for 23-24, the budget has been balanced, okay, with some surplus, and including we have a capital project fund, which we explained back in June and with the finance committee prior to that. 24-25, you know, we're not out of the woods totally, but you just have to be cautious. 24-25, the proposed budget remains real close to be balanced, which the Board of Education also approved this year. Moving to task number 6, that's on page 3. Task number 6 on page 3, business services. That continues to be evaluated very closely. You know, presently we receive services from CC RISA, and that still remains in a transition time period. And so therefore, over the next couple of years, we're going to have to watch that very closely. And I project in the future, Ovid-Elsie will have not services from CC RISA like we presently do. That took place, the first time that took place last year. So I think that transition will be completed sometime in the 25-26 school year, and I anticipate it should be completed by June, the end of that year, June of 2026. Any questions on the first category? Otherwise, I'm going to continue to the next category. Take a look at what the other tasks are. If you do have any questions, feel free to give me a call. We go to the second category, leadership task. Review the responsibility flow chart. That is done yearly, and in front of you, I believe, you see the flow chart. Do we put that down there, or do we not? I don't think so. Okay, but you see the flow chart, and therefore, if you look at the flow chart, it starts with the Board of Education at the top, the superintendent, Crystal, the administrative assistant reports directly to the superintendent. The superintendent reports collectively to the Board of Education, and then we have all the different principals. Chris Winter, the athletic director, reports directly to the superintendent, and Davenport does, Carly Dalo, and then the other individuals too. Ben Schuler is our business manager from CC RISA. Melissa, our nurse, Alt-Ed. We changed that. Alt-Ed reports directly to the superintendent this year, even though Brian will be evaluating the administrative in the Alt-Ed program. The reason we did that is just the flow, working through it 1 year. We feel that it's going to work better this way. Sean, food service, Cody, and Carla report also directly to the superintendent. So that's how the flow chart works. Any questions on that? So that's the first task to keep completed under leadership on page 4. I'd like also to look at number 7 on page 5. Just a couple things there. In front of you, we have board opportunities for growth and training. That's what task number 7 stood for. Review opportunities for board for growth and training. There is, if you have the document in front of everyone, there is, that came from MASB, Michigan Association of School Board, and it says make your voice heard. And they're looking for input from local boards of education, so that you can provide MASB talk to the legislature this year. What are high priorities you feel that MASB needs to work with? And they're going throughout the whole state. The local, the most local here is going to be at Gratiot, Isabella. And that is going to be in Ithaca, and that's going to be on October 10th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. It'd be nice if we could have a board member or two attend that. And if you are going to attend that, please let me know, and I would get you registered to come for that. So that's one item under opportunities for the board. The other is, I talked to a couple of you as board members. I put in front of you a document that we as administrators, all principals and myself, we're going to do a book study this year. The book study is Great by Choice, and that's the document you have right in front of you here. I would ask you to please take a look at this document, and then on the first page, there's a little bit of an introduction to the author, Jim Collins. And then the second page is a book. If you would like to read it, I could get a copy for you, okay? But a summary of that book, the book is about, not that thick, but it's about this thick, an inch plus, okay? But a summary for that is this red booklet right here. It would be really nice if you could read this between now and our next board meeting in October. And if you read this document, that gives the different levels, 1 through 7, on the good to great. And I said if you would like to read the whole book, please let me know and I'll get a copy of the whole book. But this summarizes it well. So I encourage for each of you to read that, and then we can discuss it, maybe take a half an hour, 15 minutes, a half an hour at our October board meeting. Then, if you feel challenged to continue with that, the next book that Jim Collins has written also, I will get you a copy of that, and this is the book right here. That's called Great by Choice. Excellent book, and this is the book that the administrators and myself are going to study throughout the year. And that is on this document that I handed for you about chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, and we're going to take about one chapter a month. And I would encourage the board also, if you would like to do that, you let me know in October. We'll first discuss this red booklet, and then we'll continue, and if you want to, we'll continue to read Great by Choice. It'll be the same book that the administrators and I are discussing this year. So there's just a couple opportunities. Category 3 was curriculum student achievement. And in this category, I'm not highlighting any item. You're going to hear about these throughout the year. Carly, each of our principals will be talking about special ed. Rochelle will give you updates in the curriculum and student achievement area. And then finally, the fourth category is communication. I think of all 4 categories, that is the area that we lacked on previously. And it's an area that I think needs much improvement, much work on in regards to communication. So hopefully we can get started more in that area too. And let's talk about internal communication and external communication. Any questions?
Business number 7, Ovid-Elsie Area Schools 23-24 financial audit.
Do I have Meg here from Yo and Yo?
my name is Meg Warner. I represent Yo and Yo. We're a CPA firm based here in Michigan. Just to give you a little bit of background, since it's our first year working with Ovid-Elsie. We are headquartered in Saginaw and have 9 offices across the state of Michigan. I'm based out of our Omaha office, so pretty close. And we're also the #1 auditor of K-12 school districts. Total number of audit. So happy to be here to present the audit results. If you have any questions as you go, feel free to interrupt me, but if not, we'll get started. So this first slide here, I always like to touch on an audit opinion and the purpose of an audit. It's a common misconception that the financial statement audit, the purpose is to find fraud. It's not. Our purpose is to look at the financial statements that management's prepared and then issue an opinion on those financial statements. So this year, you'll see we issued an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level of assurance possible. And in other words, it's a clean opinion. So no big news there. This slide here, we're looking specifically at your general fund and breaking down the revenues by category for the past 5 years. At the end of the year, total revenues were just under $20 million. You can see the biggest category of that is your state revenue sharing, which increased this year. The next category is sometimes your federal funding. You can see there was a big increase in the past 2 to 3 years with COVID. That's dipped back down as the ESSER money was spent, so it's back to its pre-pandemic levels. And then the other 2 categories are your local revenue, which is primarily property taxes, and then all other. You can see kind of a dip down in the local revenue this year and a dip up in all other. That was just a reclassification of the 3% PIPS funding, just to better categorize that according to the state's term account. So in total, those revenues stayed about the same compared to your year. That's just a reclassification from one type of revenue to the other. And then on the flip side here, we have general fund expenditures, which were just slightly under revenues for this past year. Your biggest category is construction, which is similar in most districts. You can see a big dip down this year. If you'll remember, last year there was about $2 million spent on our projects, so that's why you can see that increase this year. Supporting services stayed relatively the same. And then your other category, which is primarily debt payments, that stayed also the same. It's on track with your debt schedules. And then transfers out $850,000. That was for the capital projects that started this year. So that's why that looks a little bit different than last year's one-time transaction to get that money to the new fund to account for those projects. So then this is looking at general funds fund balance. So in non-governmental accounting terms, it's your net worth. So if you were to take all the district's assets, liquidate them, and pay off all of your liabilities, what are you going to do with them? So at the end of 24, the district had about $4.4 million in fund balance, which is that total bar. And then you can see the different color breakdowns. So this darker orange color is non-spendable category. So that's expenses that the district paid for in fiscal year 24 that are expenses in 25. So we just break that out because it's kind of paid in your assets, but it's already been spent. So we break that out in a separate category, and then the committed amount is the amount the board committed to pay back the installment purchases for the 25. So again, that portion was spent, so we show that category separately. But overall, your fund balance increased. So one of the most common questions we get regarding fund balance is, what should our fund balance be? And one of the best ratios that we've recommended people to track, and the MPE will kind of monitor as well, is your percentage of fund balance to your expenditures. MPE recommends that stays above 15%, which is that orange line above. And then in the past, you can see this year it's increased up to almost 23%, so well above the 15% state average. And then if you look at the average of other districts in the state compared to the state overall, you're slightly above that average. And among your peers, based on enrollment, you're just below about a percentage. So overall, fund balance is looking up in the state well above the state's 15% recommendation. The superintendent touched a little bit on enrollment earlier, but this takes your general fund revenues and expenditures as a total of those that enrollment. So you can see as enrollment's trending down, revenues and expenses are starting to trend up. This year they did trend back down a little bit. That is primarily related to those federal revenues that we talked about earlier, all that ESSER funding and year funding. As more revenue came in, you only have a certain amount of time to get it all spent before the state's going to request it back. So that's why expenditures increase as well to get that funding spent. All right, so this year we also completed a single audit, which is an audit separate from your financial statement audit that looks just at your federal funding, which is required by the federal government. So in total, for this past fiscal year, the district had just over $1 million in federal expenditures. We tested the child nutrition cluster, which is your food service program. That made up about 70% of that total just over $1 million. And we issued an unmodified report. So in other words, a clean opinion. We also had no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, and no material non-compliance items. So that's a great testament to the management in place, and especially over child nutrition, that we had no findings in that area. And then lastly, this is zooming back out to the regular financial statement audit, just to talk more about our findings there. We had no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies, and no material non-compliance, which is great. It's rare now that we see a district that doesn't have one of these types of findings. Just with all the different compliance rules that are required with school accounting, it's become exceedingly rare to have no findings in this. So you'll see after my presentation, I'll pass out the audit reports. They're also available in PDF as well, but we issue a governance letter that kind of covers some of our recommendations that we gave to management. So there will be paragraphs about these 3 comments in there as well, but I'll just touch on them briefly here. The first one is cash receipts. Currently, there's someone at the district who collects cash and checks, and they're also the person responsible for depositing those cash and checks. Primarily, for audit purposes, we'd like to see someone else involved in that process, just to have better segregation of duties. We didn't consider it to be a material finding since there's not a ton of money that comes in that way. It's primarily just like sharing larger amounts of computer. So I think this is something management was already aware of and was already working on process to correct, if not corrected already, but I just wanted to fix it now. The next comment we had was for written procedures over federal awards. So when you have any money coming from the federal government, they have a huge list of all these different policies that you need. Whether they apply or not, there's this huge policy book that we have in place. The district didn't have a formal policy procedure in place from the year, but it was obvious that they were working on it. There was one in place, it's just in school districts, in different school districts name. And they're following all those procedures already. It's just not formally implemented. It's a work in progress. So that's just something we're recommending that is completed by next year, just to be in better compliance with federal requirements. And then lastly, the last comment we had was for net cash resources, which is talking about your food service fund. So this is a repeated comment from last year, but just to remind you, your food service fund kind of operates like a nonprofit. And MPE wants to make sure that you're not billing your students too much for your food service. Because if your fund balance is growing, that's an indicator that you're doing more expenditures. So this is a common comment that we see in most of our districts, because with all the federal money that's come in the last few years, there's been way more revenue in this food service fund, but not as much going on in expenses. So just something we're required to report because it exceeds the level that MPE has, but something that management has a plan in place to continue to spend that. Lastly, I don't have a slide on it, but something I wanted to touch on. When you read the governance report, there's going to be a paragraph that talks about uncorrected misstatements, which uncorrected misstatements are pretty much exactly what it sounds like, something that is wrong in this statement, but it wasn't correct. And the reason for that is we talked through them with management, and they are not material to the financial statements, so it's something that doesn't need to be corrected for us to be able to issue an opinion. The reason for those is a lot of times it's more work for us to go back and fix it. So one was related to prior year numbers, and one was related to there's an accounting standard called back in the United States for software. There's a lot of reporting requirements around that, and since it has no impact on fund balance going forward, it wasn't even necessary to. So you'll see it described more in that report, but I just wanted to bring that here. So, any questions on any of those slides? for everything else? If not, I just want to say thank you to the management team that we work with. Usually in first year audit, and when there's turnover in the business manager position, it's rare for us to not have findings. That's a huge accomplishment. There's a lot of different reporting requirements for schools. It's a tough job. And switching accounting softwares to this year, it's rare that you don't find something in the mix. So I just want to say that's a huge testament to the work that you do. So with that, I'm good. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, you have the audit report itself, you can hand down to each board members.
Is there a follow-up on any of the recommendations that were mentioned before this time?
Well, follow-up, they still will take rid of them.
A lot of them are very good.
That's the fact that it's all-
Ways you pointed out that we had changed software programs and personnel, and despite all that, we have cleaned all help, so that's testament to you. It's not easy, because that's a whole lot of dots and Ts. Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to accept this audit report as presented.
So moved.
Got a motion by Mr. Schiffer, support by Dr. Huff. Any further discussion or questions? Roll call, we'll start with Mr. Nash.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, motion passes. Next item, contracts. We have two contracts in your board packet. The first one is for contract for WOES Operations Manager Kevin Summers. Entertain a motion to accept that contract.
Board of Education approved contract for this operations manager, Kevin Summers.
Motion by Mr. Nash, supported by Dr. Huff. Any comments or questions?
I just comment, it's amazing that we have a radio station, we've had it for quite a while. In large part, that's due to Kevin Summers' work, he's been at it for a long time, but also the administration for maintaining that. And I don't want to take it for granted. It's a great program.
Any other comments, questions? Mr. Schiffer, roll call vote?
Yes.
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 Yes, motion passes. Second contract is for special ed teacher in middle school.
Board of Education second contract for the grade as a special education teacher in the school grade second and third.
Motion by Mr. Nash, supported by Ms. Thompson. Discussion?
I'm glad that we were able to fill that position.
I agree. Mr. Schiffer?
Yes.
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 Yes, motion passes. Next item, MMNet merit renewal. Dr. True, you want to explain what that is for us?
Sure. IMNet has provided internet service for Ovid-Elsie and 9 other school districts since the mid to early 90s. Locally, you see, Clinton County would be Ovid-Elsie, St. John's, DeWitt, and Clinton County Risa. And then most of the other ones are Gratiot, Isabella. The internet fiber that was put in the mid to late, right around the mid-90s, okay, has extra fiber there that can be used for other things, okay? So therefore, as a result, the Board of Education, we're asking to approve this right here, the IRU. And it is to approve that we as a board for IMNET are allowed to use that extra fiber. It is paid for by the individual company. We've had it evaluated. I'm just one of 10 members on the board, namely Ovid-Elsie, okay? So by the Board of Education and each of our 10 owners of IMNET, we own 1/10 of that fiber. And by approving this, will allow that one strand to be utilized. So that's really what it
Is there any revenue?
is. Pardon me?
Any revenue?
Revenue? Oh, yes. Yeah, we don't let it out. But, yeah,
This is another example of how far ahead our administration was when we put that in. It wasn't a big deal then, but man, it has become so for kids in the schools.
yeah, discussion started already, Mike, on that, I'd say about 1993. And as I said, we all signed up about 94, 95. Ovid-Elsie was one of about maybe 6 original ones. And then St. John's agreed, Ovid agreed. And even other school districts within Clinton County, PW, Fowler, they utilize it too, but they're not an original member. It's just, they can use it, just like Mary said, it's a revenue. The answer is yes. They also use some strands of it. But yeah, way back in the 92 and 93 when we started talking internet.
Very far-sighted, it's a good move, I'll say that.
Yeah, and the man that really instigated that, he was a superintendent of Gratiot Isabella, his name was Mr. Doug Sass. Wonderful man. We got a few of us together. This is where we are.
Board of Education approves the IR as
Support.
Motion by Mr. Nash, supported by Dr. Huff. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Yes.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Item D, MIPS board members. Every couple of years, we have to appoint some board members to that Board of Education. So there's 2 names here that have come to us. So we're going to take those motions and nominations at this time.
I'll make a motion the Board of Education appoint Harold Mitchell for a 4-year term on the Board of Education.
Motion by Brooke, Woolley, supported by Ms. Schiffer. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
I make a motion the Board of Education appoint Dr. Heather Wills for a 4-year term on the Board of Education.
Support. Motion by Ms. Woolley, supported by Mr. Schiffer. Discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion passes. Number 9, other matters which properly come. Number 10, hearing from board members.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Dr. Huff, supported by Mr. Nash. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, folks. Appreciate your time.
And it'll be a week from tonight, yes, the special board meeting.
There's three. Eric Jones, C was all, Dr. Lum, C was
Got a
all.
little sign up.
Becky and I are the only two.
Well, thank you. That's the biggest compliment I'll give out. I know that's what happened. Thank you, yes, I know you.
I've got a couple of policies. Do you want to talk to me? No, taking the water. Tomorrow, I have to morning, and I've heard very helpful. I don't have any questions. Okay,
Got back from, Traverse City.
that's what you're going to sit, that's what you're going to sit. So I
I
think
mean, if I,
Really?